Yo, what's up, guys? It's your boy Bernie here along with Pete.
Yo.
And today, guys, before we get started on this discussion that we're going to have with Rusell Westbrook and the Thunder, please remember to hit that subscribe button so you can get that daily NBA content from me and Peter. Remember to go check out his 5 future superstars of the NBA, the Tubes. Great video. Make sure to check it out. Now, on to today's topic. We got to talk about the Oklahoma City Thunder and the blunder that they had against the Utah Jazz in Game 6. They lost 96-91. Obviously, in that fourth quarter, they had numerous opportunities to get back into that game. 6, I believe it was. And a questionable call that the referees didn't call on that Paul George three-pointer that he shot.
Yeah.
But the real question is, we saw the way that they played. We saw the way that Billy Donovan has coached this team. Mm-hmm. What do you think is really the big... What is the one thing you could take away from this game? Or just this series, I should say.
I mean, the thing I would say to everybody who likes the Thunder and all these guys is just like there's just no chemistry. Like, as far as cohesive play as a team, they don't play like a team ever. Mm-hmm. They didn't the entire season. Everybody's like, just wait, it'll happen. It never happened. Mm-hmm. It just didn't happen. I mean, Carmelo Anthony still is he's making comments now. Like, even if I come back next year, there's no way I'm coming off the bench. He made some comments saying like the Thunder had no plan for me when I came here, and they still didn't have a plan for me in the playoffs. I mean, it's true, and nobody will tell him, like, dude, shut up and sit on the bench, right? Mm-hmm. Like, if your organization is that much of a failure, right, that you can't even tell this washed-up dude, this is coming from somebody who loves Carmelo. He's my favorite player of all time. The guy's washed. Tell him to sit on the bench, play Jeremy Grant. Your lineups are all better with him on there. I mean, tell the guy to sit, right? And then Paul George just... I mean, playoff P showed up for one game, right?
I mean, more like push-off P.
I mean, man, Game 6, he was a nightmare to watch.
Yeah. Just going off the same sentiment as you, Carmelo Anthony was absolute garbage, not only the playoffs, but also this whole regular season. Mm-hmm. There were some spurts here and there, but it's the regular season. You're playing against weaker competition sometimes, and the playoff games are more intense, more tenacity to them. And that's the reason why I think that really, this all comes down to for next year with Carmelo. If I'm the Thunder, I just pay him off and let him sign him to another team, or see if you can negotiate with another team. Hey, Cavs, we'll give you, if you can pay half of his salary and we can give you the other half, we'll be fine with it. Because Carmelo's not really doing anything for you.
No.
His shot's washed. He's not someone that comes off the pick and roll and shoots the three anymore. He needs to be in the low post, which they didn't really do that much of.
No.
And this comes down to where I think is the biggest knock against the Thunder. And it's not only just the 3 guys, Paul George, Westbrook, and Anthony, but it's also Billy Donovan. I think he was a trash coach. He didn't really do his homework. He didn't study and put the team together that I felt like could win the games. There was times where I think Carmelo Anthony should have been on the low block. Paul George should also be on the low block as well, being a 6'9" guard. Who can post up any guy that he plays against as a 2 guard. Donovan Mitchell taking the post. I mean, there's so many different times where I think that the Thunder really misused the players. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the reason, sort of, I'm not going to, fully blame it on Billy Donovan, but it's kind of the reason, one of the reasons why I think the Thunder lost this playoff series, and they didn't adapt to their game, and they haven't all season. They've been the same team. You go, I go, ISO ball, which doesn't really work anymore the way that, once did with like Allen Iverson, for example, in that 2001 playoff run. It just doesn't happen anymore.
Except James Harden. Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I'm going to give you a differing opinion slightly on Mr. Billy Donovan. I don't necessarily think he's a bad coach. I just don't think as an organization they have the stones to tell these superstars to take a step back and let me coach, right? Mm-hmm. As an organization, they've all failed, right? Paul George, Rusell Westbrook. Rusell Westbrook is just as much to blame for all of this. Regardless, triple-double or not, the guy refused to change the way he played basketball all season, right? And at a certain point, they, as an organization, were just like, all right, we can't win with you 3 guys, so Russ, just go back to being yourself. It clearly doesn't work. That's the reason you brought Carmelo and Paul George in the first place, is to fix that whole situation where Rusell Westbrook is taking 40 shots a game. And yet, here we are. They just got eliminated, and in their elimination game, 43 shots, and he made 18.
Yeah, I think the last 2 games he shot 82 times. Obviously, Game 5 was necessary for him. He had the hot hand.
Yeah.
And, even in this game, he shot a very good from 3-point range.
Mm-hmm.
And, they were going in more than they really should have.
Yeah.
But I'm confused as to how Russell Westbrook will change in the future because he's already 29 years old. Yeah. It's going to be really tough to really change his mentality and the way that he plays because that's the way he's always been playing since he got drafted from OKC, and it's the reason why Kevin Durant left.
Yeah.
The Thunder, because he didn't want to play. Kevin Durant didn't want to bail out Russell Westbrook every time that Russell Westbrook was making these kind of decisions, and we kind of saw a little bit of it. But I think we were so amazed with what Kevin Durant did that we didn't really focus in on Russell Westbrook. You take a lot of bad shots. Obviously, it was that's probably a questionable move, but now I think it's in the open public that look, Russell Westbrook, these are not the shots that you need to be taking, and you need to help your team out a lot more. The only way I see the Thunder really doing anything is if you get a team full of Steven Adams to really, surround Russell Westbrook with. Because it's crazy to me that you can have 3 or 2 All-Stars, or one former All-Star, probably future Hall of Famer, and Carmelo, and an All-Star and Paul George, and a pretty good role player in Steven Adams, who's pretty good. I like him. How do you not at least get out of the first series? I also think it was kind of a bad matchup with the Jazz.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's slightly a bad matchup, but they still should win that series 9 times out of 10. What's your ideal situation? What do you think they should do in the offseason if they want to win next year?
If they want to win next year, I'd probably beg Paul George to come back. Mm-hmm. Obviously, he didn't have a great playoff series, but if I'm the Thunder, I either demote Billy Donovan to an assistant coach. No, probably not going to happen. So fire Billy Donovan, get a coach with some stones to tell Russell Westbrook and Paul George, hey, this is how we're going to be playing, and this is how you need to be playing. Because I think with the right coach and the right mindset, like a Mark Jackson,
maybe
even a Fitzdale, even though I think Fitzdale kind of did the same thing with Marc Gasol, and that's the reason why he got fired. So maybe he'd be a little tentative to not do that. But I think a guy like Mark Jackson would be the perfect fit for this team because Mark Jackson will tell these guys, hey, look, this is how you guys need to play. This is how the team needs to be.
Yeah.
Paul George, play your game. Russell Westbrook, we're going to teach you how to play the game the right way for having success. Because I think even though they had a great record with him shooting triple-doubles, or not shooting, but having triple-doubles, it didn't look clean, it didn't look efficient. And it's all about playing smarter, not harder.
Yeah, I agree. I honestly don't think there's a coach that can fix the problem that is Russell Westbrook. I don't think Mark Jackson's fixing anything. I think, ideally, get rid of Carmelo, obviously.
Yeah.
There's no way they keep Paul George. So, ideally, you keep him in a perfect world. It's just not happening. I think you just go out and you get some shooters. I don't know how you get them, where you get them. Avery Bradley was somebody that we wanted them to get in the first place in the trade market. Didn't work out that way. I think they should try and get him in free agency. I think he's the ideal fit, a really solid, high effort defensive team, especially when Roberson comes back, and then you just put shooters.
Yeah. Another thing you could also do is add JJ Redick. He's going to be a free agent this year.
That's a good fit.
Give him the money since you're not going to be paying Paul George in this scenario. Let him go. Let him just shoot. Let Russell Westbrook go to work and then kick out to the 3. JJ Redick's open.
JJ Redick and Avery Bradley out there with Steven Adams, Roberson, and Westbrook. It's not a bad lineup.
Yeah, I
still don't think it's winning a championship, obviously. No. I don't think there's anything you can do for Russell except get him a superstar who's bigger than him. Yeah. They're not getting any of those
They're
guys.
Not getting a LeBron. They're not getting they're not getting KD back ever. So this is going to be a very interesting time for Russell Westbrook. A lot of the media has told him, or I'm sure he's read a lot of the newspapers talking about how he needs to change his game, how, former players are telling him, hey, this is probably the way you should be playing. My question is, will he listen to the old heads, if you will? Will he listen to them and change his game for the sake of, getting to the promised land of a championship in OKC, which I don't want to see as a Seattle native, but does he change his game? That's the main thing that I want to know about Russell Westbrook. He's 29.
I think the only thing that could change his game would be like if he dropped off in his athleticism a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that would honestly help. It might help him.
A blessing in disguise.
It might, maybe, because then he might play a little bit different and use like his basketball IQ, use some other tools that we know he has in a more efficient manner.
Yeah, I mean, salute to the Jazz. I think they obviously played a perfect series against him. Quinn Snyder, obviously a Coach of the Year candidate.
Yeah.
He's one of those guys that I think knew how to coach the team and knew how the weaknesses of an OKC and how they like to play. And really, if we look at the offense, I believe that the Thunder they used 33% of their offense were three-pointers, which they never have before. No. It's usually 9%. And the reason why is because they had Rudy Gobert in the middle to kind of keep the guys further away from the basket.
Yeah.
So salute to them. Salute to Donovan Mitchell, who's probably the best player in this series.
Yeah, I would agree.
Outballing Paul George, outballing Russ.
Carmelo wasn't even a fraction of him. Though, I mean, the last thing I want to say on this matter is you go look at the game 1 of Utah versus Houston and just look at the difference between Houston and OKC. It gets unreal. Just from a coaching perspective, you look at what Mike D'Antoni did in game 1 against the Utah Jazz and their lineups,
right?
Just completely locked them all down, and it was beautiful, right? The offense was wonderful too, as Houston is just doing their thing, and it didn't even look like they were in their final form, so to say.
Yeah, I think also the same thing with the Jazz. I think they were trying to figure out a lot because without Ricky Rubio, their whole thing changes. And that's another thing that we forgot to mention in this playoff series with the Jazz and the Thunder. Ricky Rubio was out in the first couple minutes of that game 6. So they should have taken advantage of that after, Russell Westbrook was spewing and talking game 5 about he was going to shut down Ricky Rubio.
Yeah. The problem with this whole series in general was how bad that game 5 went for the Thunder and how upset they were about everything. Is like, that to me was the ultimate sign that it was over. Like, you can't be that upset in a game 5 and come back and win it all.
Yeah, I think the Jazz and the Celtics have really shown you that it really takes team basketball to win these type of games, especially in the first round. Obviously, when you get to the later rounds, it's all about the superstar and how big they can get.
Sometimes, though. Let's subtract the Cleveland Cavaliers and LeBron from that equation.
Yeah.
Let's not call that team basketball.
Yeah. I mean, that's just GOAT basketball at that point. But, like I said, Jazz, Celtics, they showed you that team basketball, how moving the ball, Spurs-esque type of feel to it. That's what's going to win you the war, not the battle.
Yeah. I agree. Hey, Thunder fans, you got a lot to be happy about. You got a lot to worry about. It's going to be I think they're going to have a weird offseason.
I mean, it's going to honestly be very interesting to see if they can, and I doubt they will. They got to beg Paul George. They got to be on their hands and knees.
Even more importantly, they have to beg Carmelo to leave.
To not take the deal.
If they can't get rid of him, to do something with him different.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to have to hopefully work with the team and be like, hey, if you pay half his salary, we'll pay the other half. And
he's the more important piece to this equation, right? Because of that contract.
Yeah, obviously he's going to opt in for that $28 million. Who wouldn't opt in for that $28 million when he's not worth that anymore?
Oh my God. I'd just be like, dude, get up, go away.
And I think that's what the Thunder, hopefully that's what they should do and will do. The fact that, Carmelo will give you some of the money, but you got to go. You got to get out of here.
Hey, I love Melo, but look at how beautiful that trade worked out for the Knicks. Got rid of Melo in this terrible season for him.
Yeah.
I'm all right with it.
Could have had him for another season.
No thanks. It's okay. I guess maybe we would have been higher in the lottery.
True.
Burn. Sorry, Melo. Love you. All right, let's move on, Bernie.
All right, let's move on.